Right, yeah, this is the last one from Lydia Day. Nick Cave speaks candidly about how his art helped him through grief. He talks about this in the book, um, and he says something so brutally honest, where he says because obviously his son died. His son's named Arthur, but yeah, he said that losing his son made him more a complete person. And the interviewer kind of goes, really, like, and it took him to say really to for me to actually realize how very honest that is. But what he means by that, I knew exactly what he meant by that. By that, once you've experienced that type of pain, and it's every minute of the day you feel that pain, but yet you're somehow able to keep going and keep doing things. Um, Basically, if you can go through that and survive that, there's nothing that can hurt you anymore. There's nothing anybody can do. There's nothing anybody can say. There's nothing. You're pretty much invincible to anything else once you go through that. And that to go through that type of loss, yeah, I understand fully what he means and how it makes, like he talks of how it makes him appreciate things different, and basically how he had to change his whole life changed. Yeah, it's very, very, very honest thing to say, and very like, yeah, very deep. That book. It's like, it's not, to be honest, it's not it's not a easy listen. Do you know what I mean? It's not something you really have to listen to it, and you have to like, yeah, it's pretty heavy. Some of the things he says, and like how he talks so openly about things. It's just, yeah, I recommend it. It's the Faith, Hope, and Carnage book. Honestly, yeah, I was a Nick Cave fan before, but listening to that, I just think he's great. But yeah, let's go. This is, yeah, him speaking through his grief. But yeah, let's go.
That is critically acclaimed singer-songwriter Nick Cave, who is currently touring America. The Australian artist may be best known for his haunting songs about life, love, and loss. But in his latest best-selling book, Faith, Hope, and Carnage, Cave explores those topics through strikingly candid conversations. Anthony Mason recently visited Cave in London. Anthony, good morning.
I would really agree with that. That it is striking. It's shocking to hear someone speak so honestly and real, be so real about something so personal to him. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's really is good book, but it's like I say, it's not just easy listening. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty savage, and like he said, it's shocking.
Good morning. Nick Cave experienced the most profound grief over the past 8 years, but he says he's come out the other side. And both the book and the music that he's created are surprisingly hopeful and uplifting.
Nick Cave has been making music for more than 4 decades.
If I could sail a galleon ship.
As a soloist,
Music's a little,
Atmospheric.
yeah, kind of lives somewhere. I don't know, I can't see it. Where is it? But this is this little thing that sits on the mantelpiece. You know?
At one point you say in the book,
Faith, Hope, and Carnage, Cave's latest book, grew out of conversations he had with journalist Sean O'Hagan during the pandemic.
I think that the utility of religion very much is the thing that can guide you out of some very dark times.
Cave went through some of the darkest 8 years ago when his son Arthur died after falling from a cliff. He was 15. In the book, Cave lays bare his grief.
How difficult was that for you?
It was a relief in a way.
I could feel it literally rushing through my body and bursting out the ends of my fingers, Cave says. A kind of annihilation of the self, an interior screaming.
It was a strange experience for me because it was very public to know what had happened to me. Everyone knew about it.
Fans started to write to him.
For so long has my grief been an inextricable part of me. Alison.
He answered on a website he calls the Red Hand Files.
Did you feel the need to speak
Did you?
to someone? You did.
Yeah, I just didn't know how to talk about things, and I didn't know how to articulate my loss. And I basically learnt that through writing the Red Hand Files.
You said that fans, in effect, saved your life?
Yeah, I would say that they certainly saved me a life of internal thinking.
I'm curious what role music played for you in this.
Music for me, and especially songwriting, is a kind of abstract way of articulating loss. Music has that extraordinary potential of taking extremely complex things and sort of packaging it in a universal language that we can all kind of understand.
Glowing circle on my head.
With collaborator Warren Ellis, he wrote Ghostine, an album inspired by the spirit of his son.
I've only just because that album comes up a lot. He talks about that album a lot in the book, but I've only just realised even that title, because when he was saying it, I was just hearing it as the word Ghostine, and it made me think of a female ghost, to be honest, like Augustine. Yeah, but Ghost teen. His son was 15, and now he's a ghost teen. Ghostine. Yeah, that's even that is very, very, savage.
It felt like these songs were sort of reaching towards him in some way.
I am beside you. Look for me. I try to forget.
Grief is just a great big swirling, confusing thing, you know.
Yeah.
And you try and make sense of it as best you can. But when I finished that record, I felt I'd done something for my child.
Arthur was one of his twin boys with his wife Susie.
Your wife's experience was actually quite different.
I think that mothers who've lost children, it's a different thing. It's like a circle of hell reserved for mothers who've lost children. It's complex and primal.
But Cave says she channeled her grief and her energy into her work as a dress designer.
I could see the transformation, which I found extremely moving.
The words you use in the book are that a strange, reckless power came out of your grief.
Yeah.
What was that power?
It's simply that it doesn't matter what happens next. The worst has happened, or at least it seems to you at the time the worst has happened.
Yeah.
It actually may not be that the worst has happened, I'm sorry to say.
Last year, the worst happened again. His son Jethro, by an earlier relationship, died at 31.
It was very, very difficult, Dad. It was very, very difficult. I think that sense of loss makes us the sort of soulful people that we can be, that we are not when we're young.
Do you feel like a different person?
Yeah. Yeah. I think after Arthur died, after Jethro died, after my mother died. These things make you love people and humanity and value people and understand the sort of fragile nature of people. And it's made me kind of love the world more.
For Cave, creation became an act of defiance.
And when I started to do concerts and go on stage, I was sort of stepping into the regard or the love of my audience. And I felt that I needed to give something back. Music becomes a healing force anyway.
Yes.
It's one of the last things we have left, really, that actively attempts to, you know, rehabilitate the world in some kind of way.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming along. Just beautiful people. Thank you.
Nick Cave celebrated his 66th birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to Nick. Faith, Hope, and Carnage, as we mentioned, he's on tour in the States right now, and Faith, Hope, and Carnage just came out in paperback. This is a book about creativity, it's a book about faith, and as we discussed, it's a book about dealing with grief. And in that sense, to me, it's incredibly important, because it's a conversation we're still afraid to have in this country. You know, if you've been through a chapter, anything like that, it's so hard for people to talk about it and you feel really alone. So what he's done here, I think, is really meaningful in so many ways. And he's done it so eloquently.
And the remarkable thing about that collective grief that he's talking about here is that he has such a beautiful philosophy because of what he has gone through and the act of defiance that he calls all of this.
Well, so much of the strength he gained came from other people who'd been through similar things who reached out to him. That's a really important part of this. Grief is such a human thing, and he talks about it in such a human way. As much as society is afraid of it, you know, he's done something really valuable here.
And he's open to having more conversations.
I can't wait to read it. Thanks.
Anthony, great story.
Yeah, because there's actually something he says in the book, which kind of stuck with me. I love like these type of things, like these type of analogies, but where he tells a story of I think it's, I'm not quite sure what religion it is, but he says there's a story that there's a mother going round the town with a dead baby. And she goes up to like a preacher or whatever, a healer or whatever, tries to get him to say, my baby's sick, and everybody knows her baby's dead. And the baby's not moving, it's not crying, but she can't accept the fact that it's dead. So the whoever, guru, whatever it is, he says in the book, but he says, to make your child better, go and get a mustard seed off of every family, but only the houses that have not had some type of loss. And so she goes off, knocks on all the doors, comes back without any mustard seeds, and she's like, I haven't got any mustard seeds. And he sort of says, well, yeah, because everybody has experienced loss in some way or another. The life it's built into life that from the day you're born, if you don't die first, you're going to lose your mum and your dad. And or your grandparents first, but your mum and dad is really the two. But then, yeah, the only thing that tops that type of grief is losing a child. I haven't got children, but do you know what I mean? I grew up. I was an uncle when I was 6, so like, there's always been kids in my family. There still is now. I've got nephews that's mid-20s and nephews that are I've got a great niece, just nearly 2. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and to lose a child. Well, it's in the Lord of the Rings, and it's a great line in the Lord of the Rings when the King of Rohan has to bury his son, and he says, no parent should ever have to bury their child. Like that's not the way round it's supposed to go, but it can go. Do you know what I mean? And it does go, and yeah, to be honest, that's what's like. I recommend that book, especially if you're a deep kind of thinker. The Nick Cave book is just perfect. Um, it's well, I mean, again, it's not because you're hearing someone talk about grief and talk about creating, but yeah, it's something that everybody experiences too. But it's shocking to hear someone just talk about it so like matter of factly. But yeah, I recommend his book 100%. Get it. It's a fascinating. Well, I'm listening to it. It's a fascinating listen. Put it that way. But yeah. Anyway, that's the reaction. Sweet.